Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to Copper Jacket TV. So listen, I am extremely frustrated today, and I want to start off this video by asking you a question. If you know the answer, please leave it down in the comment section. But why is it so difficult for us, when challenging clearly unconstitutional gun control laws, to get an injunction? I mean, it takes a lot. There's discovery, there's arguments. I mean, it could take forever to get that injunction. But when the government asks for a stay, the stay happens nearly immediately and almost every single time. That's exactly what we have here now, where the Supreme Court has granted a stay against the frame and receiver injunctions. Now, real quick, I just want to thank you all very much for watching. If you're not subscribed yet, consider hitting that subscribe button. We have Second Amendment content on a daily basis, news and reviews, and I've got a lot of great stuff coming up. If you are not seeing my videos all the time, hit that little bell notification and leave a comment. Let me know what's going on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get to the video. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about what's going on here. So this came down from the Supreme Court as a 5-4 decision. There were 4 dissenting judges who said that they would have left the Texas injunction in place. Those 4 judges were Kavanaugh, Alito, Gorsuch, and Thomas. That means that Barrett, who to me was kind of the swing here, ended up siding with the government and decided that the government should be allowed to enforce this unconstitutional rule until the appeals process is finished. So this stay is going to remain in place through the appeal to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals down in New Orleans. Now, we know that the Fifth Circuit has been friendly to the Constitution and friendly to the Second Amendment as of late. If you guys remember, they voted favorably with, against the government's ban on bump stocks. So the Fifth Circuit is going to be taking this up now. But until then, a stay has been placed on that injunction which halted enforcement of the frame and receiver rule. And that means that now the government is going to be able to enforce it for the time being. So the Fifth Circuit's going to have to hear this one. Now, what I find the most stunning here is that anybody who is to look at this case, take both agendas out of it, just look at it from a factual standpoint. What we have here is a government agency who's trying to regulate something because of what it possibly could become in the future. Not because of what it is, because of something that might happen later, that might really, in all actuality, might never happen. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to overstep their boundary by regulating a piece of plastic or a piece of metal. Now, what they've done is they've given it a new definition, they've given it a new name, and they say that because of that new scary name, it should be regulated by the government, and so they finagle their way into making a rule for it. And the fact that the Supreme Court, who's supposed to completely understand the separation of powers and the limits of powers and the Constitution, said that, you know what, that regulation should be allowed to stand and should be allowed to stand until appealed by the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. No, it shouldn't be allowed to stand. This is clearly a violation of multiple amendments within our Constitution and should not be allowed to stand even for one more minute. But for some reason, again, like I said in the very beginning, the government always gets their stay. We have to go through everything to get these injunctions, right? We have to spend money and time, and people are in court and they have to provide evidence and proof, and there's all this research and history and stuff that has to be done, and then the court will come up with a decision. But when the government says, hey, we don't like that decision, they get their stay just like that. That's exactly what happened here over a piece of plastic and a piece of metal. Now, because of the nature of this case and how it's accelerated through the different courts, I'm hoping that the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals will expedite this one and look at the facts in this case and come up with a decision as quickly as possible so that we can get back to the injunction, because that's where I think we're headed again. I think we're headed in the end to this being overturned, but at minimum, we should be looking at an injunction from the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeal, or for the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeal to uphold the lower court's injunction, which would stop the enforcement of this absolutely ridiculous rule. But until that happens, it is now enforceable. I mean, like it or not, unconstitutional or not, they love to enforce this stuff. Well, we see it every single time. We've talked about how many times doors have been knocked on and things have been taken and people have had to sign documents and all sorts of stuff. We've seen it happen time and time again over the last few years, and this is going to be no different. So this is something that needs to stop. The government needs to stop being able to just simply walk in and overturn a court's decision on a whim. Every single time. It needs, as somebody who lived in California, I saw it every time we won. Every single time we won, the government would ask for an emergency stay, and sometimes things that took years to get to the injunction point would be stayed in a matter of 24 to 48 hours. So again, years to get to the injunction, but 48 hours for the government to overturn it. And that's kind of my point in this video. It is absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, I wanted to tell you guys about that. I want to thank you all very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. The fight continues. Please like, subscribe, and you guys have a great day.